All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Living with a Toy Collector. It is me, Anna Chaos, and I know my hair looks fabulous. So I'm finally making an effort after a really rough 2025 to start taking care of myself. And my hair is part of my self-care, so let me have this. Love doing my hair. But anyway, guys, so let's go ahead and get going with this week's video. And I want to talk on one of my shows that I really like. So this one's kind of goofy. It came out around the 2010s, pretty much 2007, 2010 era, and it was called Stormhawks. Okay, so Stormhawks it was a Canadian-based show, and they only had like 2 seasons. I remember seeing them on Cartoon Network. The same folks that work on Stormhawks, they worked on another series called Slugterra. I believe it's the same creator, or at least the same guy within the same team. And what really drew me to the show is, like, first of all, I like the show mostly because it reminded me of one of my favorite video games, which is Jak and Dexter. So it had that same style, that same look, and for whatever reason, I was drawn to the show, and it was really cool and kitschy and kind of fun. And again, at the time, I was kind of bouncing between my animation career and my graphic design career, and I would enjoy watching everything that was on Cartoon Network. So because I like the show so much, I actually collected quite a few of these. I even created a custom Piper. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay out the figures so you guys can see what I got, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about the show. Alright, so here is the full collection pulled out of the tote. Like I said, I keep my stuff in totes, and I also keep them indoors, AC, and smoke-free area. So this is everything that I managed to amass from the series. As far as I'm tracking, the only thing I'm missing is the sword. Apparently there is a sword for the series, but the sword seemed kind of unnecessary because I was a 30-year-old woman collecting these, so I just didn't care too much. But there is the ship that you shoot at the little flyers out of. There is the 6-inch figures right there. There's the 3/4-inch figures there. There's my custom Piper. And I also managed to find some of the other figures to complete it. I found them loose. I never found them in the box. So, and I also have the bike and the villain's bike. So these were sold separately. And right here you can see I have one that's out of the package. There's the motorcycle. The guy will get on it. He's got both of his swords. And he just pretty much rode around in the cycle. But we'll go ahead and take a closer look at this here in a moment. But that's pretty much everything that I have. So let's go ahead and take a deeper dive at the Stormhawks. Okay, so Stormhawks was a pretty neat series. Like I said, it came out, I believe, around 2006, 2007. This was a Canadian production, and I just kind of managed to find it on Cartoon Network. It used to like air in the afternoons. And at this point, I already gotten my animation degree, so I was really constantly connected to see what was the new art styles that would come out and all that, whatever was hip at the time. And I still had hopes that I would make it to the animation field. However, that never kind of came to full fruition due to family. But for the most part, I still kept up with what was coming out in the industry. And Stormhawks happened to be one of those that I just managed to catch, and I just absolutely loved. Because it was kind of goofy, derpy, and it had a pretty interesting story. If you still want to catch the show, if you go to Roku, they actually have it for free for their subscription. So, and they also have a lot of kids show from like the early 90s, 80s, and 2000s, and this one just happened to be one of the ones that is on there. I'm not sure if they have a huge contract with the company that does a lot of these Canadian shows, but I noticed a lot of Canadian content in Roku, so just kind of giving you a heads up. But if you want to watch it, you can simply just go to Roku, just make an account, and just simply watch it for free. Just a little bit about the show. You can find it on Wikipedia. This was created by Ash, I believe is Flyke is his name. And then when I looked into him, I looked at some of his other videography, and he also created another show, another show that I was very familiar with that made it to the States. It's called Slugterra. So that probably should look a little familiar to you right there. That character, it has that similar style. But pretty much, I don't remember much about Slugterra, but it had slugs. But anyway, going back to Stormhawks, the show was pretty neat. Like I said, it had 2 seasons. And to be honest, it was kind of short and sweet, and it's pretty much what you needed. As far as I remember, I don't think it ended up in a cliffhanger. it just pretty much got wrapped up, and then, it kind of left it for an option to continue the show. But it was really cool. It mostly featured a world where you had these knights, and apparently their world kind of got divided into multiple, I guess, factions, and it was up to the Stormhawks to kind of defeat the evil in order to bring them all together and defeat the bad guys. And of course, per usual manner, obviously the fate of the world lands on a bunch of teenage kids in order to pretty much bring everything to full fruition. So here you have Stormhawk. So it is 26 episodes for season 1 and 26 episodes for season 2, which, to be quite honest, considering how today's most seasons are only like 8 to 9 episodes long, that's still technically about 4 seasons worth of content if you're looking at it by today's standards. It is in English, and it's a really cute show. I really would suggest it. I personally liked it, and I thought they did a good job at it. If you want to find the figures, you can easily find them on eBay. There's the sword, as I mentioned, is the only thing I didn't grab because I didn't think that I needed it. But you can easily find these for a couple bucks online. I know this guy has it here for like $75. This one I can see being $84. I believe I paid $40 for it. And you're looking at 10 years, so they don't even make these anymore. But you can pretty much just easily collect these if you're patient at like $14 to $20 a pop, and just kind of build up your own collection if you want. I did find they have a wiki page for this series. Unfortunately, I might have to contribute because when you go to their toys, they only have a few inputs. They don't have a lot. So technically, I have a much more full collection than what they have here. But here they're talking about the villains. There's the sword. That's the display case. So you had the basic sword, and you have this sword right here. I never saw this in person. I knew of it. I never saw it at the store. And again, it's something that I wasn't really interested on, so I never really pursued it. But I knew the sword existed, so this would be the good guy's sword, and this is the bad guy's sword. And then you can see there's the little, the glider. This came out of, I believe, the ship, and he would just kind of fly out. And there's some of the other figures on there. They're really small. And then it pretty much starts going into the, pretty much each one of the series on DVD. This is the one that I kind of remember. And the characters were really interesting. You had, 1, 2, 3 humanoids. Then you have like this monkey critter. And then this lizard emo guy. And then you had the big, like, rhino looking dude. And then they flew around in a ship that kind of looked like a Final Fantasy Sid ship, and then they had these like winged vehicles that they will pop out, and so they would turn to motorcycles, but then they will also have wings as well, and they would just fly out, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the toys. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Condor Battle Cruiser. Starting backwards, normally I start with the figures and I move to the ships, but this time around, I'm just going to go backwards so that way I can pack it carefully as I'm going through. Now, what's really neat about this is, like, this is the Condor, and these things are like these giant, like, balloons. Things that you have. In this case, I believe they do open on the side. You can see right here, there's just little openings. But most of the area happens up here. You have, like, a little kind of gun launcher where you put, like, a paper version of their motorcycle, and it shoots out. And in this area right here pops open, where see pop-up planes launch instantly, where you can see right there on the side where you could like mount them on there, and then you can shoot them out kind of like a gun, which is really cool. It reminds me of the old Skylanders version. Now, I never opened this, and I don't think I ever will. You can see the tape is still intact. For most of this box, there's some minor damage, but the box itself has never been opened. And you can see right here where this mostly fits not the 6-inch, but like the 3/4-inch figures. And you pretty much have it's pretty much a playset around the ship, which this will happen quite often. They'll be sitting there minding their own business, and then the bad guy sneaks in and causes trouble and yada, yada, yada. Now the reason why I know this for the 3/4-inch, because you can see right here is more of the fuller set. You have the whole team, minus Piper, so you have 4 of the good guys. They never made the girl character because, as I mentioned before, for whatever reason, girl characters are not they don't sell very well. So if they do make them, they make them towards the end, and they make them like the difficult part to complete when you're doing a collection. But they did do 2 of the 2 main bad guys in the show, which was the Dark Ace and Snipe. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so I will apologize if you see me alternating between lights on, lights off. Mostly because, like, anything that has the cellophane or shiny is too much, and unfortunately, it doesn't tape really well. But anything cardboard, it tapes fine if I have the lights on. But this right here, this is Arrow's, pretty much his skimmer. It's pretty much what they call them. It's the motorcycles with wings. As you can see right here, there's the picture where you see there's the bike on the ground, and then there's the bike without the wings. This is the only full set I've ever seen. Anytime I find them at flea markets, the wings are always missing. Always, always, always missing. And even online, the few ones that I've seen, the wings are always missing. So, as you can see right here, this is the only way to get the little monkey figure right there. And I do have this out of the package. I have a second one, so I can show you a better picture of that. And this one pretty much fits the full size figures, the 6 1/4 inch figures. Now, I will tell you this: they had really interesting custom cards, so that way it fit the world a little bit better. So I never saw these in intact. And like, just I never saw it where it wasn't damaged somehow, even at the store. So if you get one and the card is not pristine, please do not be too hard. I never found one that wasn't pristine. So that's just across the board. And you can see right here, even with me keeping it safe, there's still some bends on it. It's always been like that. But here is a fuller picture of what it should look like, which they did a really good job showing you what this picture or this figure looked like, or at least the vehicle. And you can see this one right here, it fits. I believe this one also fits the little ones. Yep, it looks like this one fits the little ones instead of the big ones. But it's a pretty neat vehicle. And they have his vehicle and then they have the bad guy's vehicle. So let's go ahead and switch to the bad guy's vehicle. All right, and here is the Dark Ace. Pretty much similar situation as Arrow's bike, where he has regular bike mode and he has flight mode, and he even has like the little claws in the front right here where you could see that was kind of like a signature of the vehicle right here. This one has fully intact. It has all the wings in it. So like I said, if you do find them in the wild, keep in mind it's not the motorcycles alone. And you can see right here, there's these 4 holes, and that's where these little wings come to. I did find one that kind of had it, but the little plastic area was snapped. So make sure, if you do find it in the wild, make sure that those are not snapped. And like I said, just like my other one, it's kind of hard to keep the card intact. It's still together, but as you can see, the card itself is a little rough. Not from the lack of trying to protect it, it's just that it's a hard shape to protect, if I may be frank. Alright, you can see there's the full vehicle right there, fully launched. And there he is flying on the ship. And there it is right here at the bottom. So that's pretty dope. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next set. So these are the full figure sets right here. These are like the 6-inch figures with the weapons. These are like what they consider the deluxe. They made 3 good guys, and they made the bad guys, which is the Dark Ace. He's your main, not protagonist, but your main antagonist in the show. So they obviously made a figure out of him. And some of these came with bonus DVD. You can see right there, bonus DVD included. You can see it on the back of the figure. So let's go ahead and take a look at these a little closer one by one. Alright, so let's take a look at Arrow right here. So he is full-time figure. Now, normally I pull him out of the plastic cellophane that I have on there, but I gotta tell you, because of how thick and the awkward shape, this was a kind of a pain in the ass to keep them sealed. So I'm just pretty much just gonna keep him here. But as you can see, there he is. There's also a DVD in the background. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Focus. There we go. There's his figure. He looks possessed. But there's his sword one, and there's the second sword on the other side. And like I said, I have the ability to... I do have this figure loose, so we will be able to look at that a little bit closer. And the packaging is actually pretty nice. It's got this right here is kind of what is it, embedded. So that way the Stormhawk sticks out. You can see the figure right there from the side. And there's the figure in the back, and you can actually see his little... I guess he used to talk at one point. Oh, no, it's a spinning. He has the ability to spin, if I'm correct. Yeah. Twist and World action right there. The swords light up or they used to. I don't know if they light up anymore because I kept them in the package this whole time. And let me see when these came out. It's been a hot minute. Let me see. Blah, blah, blah. Spinning, made in China. Do we have any year on this? A closer look down here. Cartoon Network, yep, 2007. And this right here is stormhogs.com. And I don't remember who made this toy line. I'll have to take a look a little deeper. All right, but that right there, that is Arrow in a nutshell. So here is Finn, and Finn pretty much is very reminiscent of your standard, extremely playful character. Think of like Johnny Test and like any other hyperactive blonde character you've ever seen. He's kind of goofy. He's not very bright. I don't know why they always make him like that, but it's like a staple. And but he's like the cool, kind of dorky wannabe guy, I guess. And but you know, he has a good heart. And you can see there he is. He does have like a little gun that he shoots, his little dart right there. And the cool part is about these guys that they have some pretty decent articulation. They got articulation on the head. They have articulation on the shoulders. I believe elbows, hands to hold the weapons. Right here they have it on the waistline, hip, knees, and I don't think the feet bend, but the loose one, I'll go ahead and I'll take a closer look. I believe, actually, I think on these ones, most of the bottoms do not move, mostly because they want to make sure the character can shoot. But I could take a closer look at one of the other ones. You can see most of these, the legs are not very movable. But I like how they kept that lanky look that they had in the show. So that's pretty much Finn in a nutshell. And there's his bow right there with a little dart. And yeah, that's kind of neat. Alright, so here's Junko. Junko is your lovable big guy who likes food. And he had, because he was the muscle, he had like a little power ball fist kind of deal. And then he also has like a glowing fist right here. He kind of had like these like knuckle busters, if I remember correctly. They just kind of hit together and then he hit a little harder. And just like the other ones, there is a DVD in the back. He does have several points of articulation, just like the other one. But you can see right there this little glowy hand pump thing. I believe the hand is built in to this figure. Let's take a look at the back. Yep, see, so one used to throw the ball, and then the hand, this was built in, that glowy power was built into that. And just like the other figures, you have the articulation on the head, the shoulders, part of the arms, the waist, and the feet are nice and steady. And Lord and behold, here's the villain. I will have to say, though, the one thing I did not like about the way this packaging was done is that the poses kind of made it hard to see the character in the packaging. But as you could see, I mean, he's already pretty much pre-posed on here. But he has his evil man red sword. So this thing will kind of like pop in and out right here. The blade, you can see it right there. And let's go ahead and go to the back. And he wasn't anything special. He has like the little right here you have the little sword. He had like a helmet. Like his armor always looked like it was just kind of junk thrown together. But yeah, no, you know, he's pretty generic bad guy, you know. I'm cool, I'm suave, I'm kind of an a-hole, and I got a cool red sword. So that's pretty much him in a nutshell. But he was the main antagonist, so yep. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the smaller figures. Now, I only have 4 in the original set that are still on the card. The rest of the set I have it complete, but they are loose. And I even have an extra one of the little monkey guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of these one at a time. And then I'm going to go ahead and then just kind of, you know, wrap this video up because otherwise it's going to be super long. But let's go ahead and get going. Okay, so first in line, the 3/4 inch figure, we got Junko. And he's a pretty basic figure. You can see he's got his 2 little fists there. And, you know, he's pretty standard figured. It's not too bad. Pretty simple. He does have several points of articulation. I do have one outside of the box. So here he is. There's some articulation on the head, shoulder, elbow, wrist. You can see the little bumper things that kind of pop on and off. So this is pretty much typical to the show. You have articulation on the waist, the legs right here, the elbow, but not the feet. So the good part is about this is that this figure can stand on his own. So I'm going to tilt the camera down a little bit. So this way, if you want to pose him, you can. And the best part is these little flame things. They kind of go over his fists, which again is pretty standard if you ever watched the show. And he looks pretty dope, especially if you can kind of put like a glowy light underneath him. It looks pretty cool. So let me try to change it to the front to see if that sticks. Oh, come on, you're not gonna let me, are you? Maybe. There we go. So that is the figure with that in his hands. And that is pretty... You're gonna fall forward, aren't you? Yep, it's gonna fall forward. And he does have the little spinning action right there. So this one, for whatever reason, doesn't want to stick, but this one stuck just fine. Don't know why it's doing that, but here he is. Let me try it the other way. Maybe. Nope. It could be that this has gotten old and stretched out, but that's pretty much the figure in all its glory. It's got the little Stormhawks, got the little markings on the back. And I don't think there's any marking on the feet. You can see the mold there. Okay, so next in line, I got the Finn figure. Now, again, just kind of like the other ones, it's pretty simple. It's just the figure and the weapon. And this was like his bigger weapon that he got later on. So it's just him. He does have multiple points of articulation. He does flip up. You can see right here where the character flips up. What is it? Crossbow. Sorry, it's kind of hard to read. Yeah, crossbow. Pretty much what it says in 3 different languages. Give me a second. Yeah, ballesta. It's got different languages there. Because I think this aired in English, French, and Spanish, if I remember correctly. So right here you could see that. And then on the back it pretty much shows you the figure. And you can see the action that he's got going on there. So let's take a look at the action figure itself. Okay, so... right out of the bat, this is pretty sturdy. You don't have to worry about this kind of getting messed up there. As far as I know, there's no dart. Maybe at one point there was, but I don't even see a dart in here. So I'm just going to assume there's no dart in here. It's just the action that comes with it. The other thing that I noticed is that when you try to set it up, be careful with this hand. For whatever reason, on mine, the hand pops off. And it's really hard to kind of set the weapon like he has it in the packaging. So be careful when you're doing that. But you can see right here. That looks terrible. But you can see there's the action spring that we're talking about. But you try to put the weapon on it, the hand will fly off. So please be careful if you take him out of the package. It will go flying. And already flown on me 3 times since they took it out of the baggie. So keep that in mind. But similar head, shoulder, elbow, wrist. This one, the wrist doesn't move, but this one it does. Maybe the glue finally gave out. You have center right here a little bit, right twist. Then you have the right here a little bit on the leg, and then the knees, but it doesn't bend all the way back. I'm always too scared to bend these too far back because you can see like there's a snap on there, but I'm always afraid that's going to snap the whole leg off. So I'm always pretty scared to just kind of try to bend these at all. But that's pretty much him. I am not going to try to put the weapon on him. I already tried multiple times and it did not happen. So I'm just going to leave him like this, all bow-legged. Yep, bow-legged Finn. Enjoy that. And here we have Stork. So Stork was this like lizard-looking character. He always had a very sarcastic personality. He was the emo kid. Let's just call it what it was. He was the emo kid. And he was like the inventor and the fixer guy of the group. So he had like pretty much the equivalent of a junk gun from Fallout, if you ever played that game. And so he had this net on it. So pretty much he had these kind of missiles on it. And then he shoot it on. He will capture people with it. You know, you can see right here, there's the rockets. And then there's the full figure itself. I'm telling you this right now. If you're going to try to stand him up with this weapon, it ain't going to happen. I'm just being straight honest right now. So this is cool for the photo. This means going to stand up, and I'll show you why. So here is the figure. As usual, like the other one, super bony. Articulation, the head, shoulder. I don't see any action, anything on this character. except for the ability to just kind of hold it. He is kind of a lizard guy, so he does have, like, even though he has the bipedal features on him, the legs are, you know, he's got like the three toes, like an amphibian. I can't remember if he's amphibian or it's like part frog. I can't remember what his fingers, but you can see his toes right there. They're pretty unique. He's definitely not human. I'll leave it at that. And then you have the junk gun. And the way you do the junk gun is that you go over here and then you pop it in. You do 1, 2. This is a process. So imagine being a kid trying to do this over and over again. You put it until it snaps. And here's the third one. Don't mind that noise. My cat turned on the my something in the background, and I believe if I hit this, something here I hit and it used to release it. Again, these are older. I don't want to mess with it too much, but that's pretty much how the gun pretty much looks like. This is the handle. He's supposed to shoot it here, and then this literally shoots out. But this right here, I don't know if it's because of age or the spring kind of gave out. It doesn't shoot it anymore. But that's pretty much what is supposed to happen. It feels like maybe the spring on the inside, yeah, it's either loose or it's gone. So, but it's a pretty neat gun. But as you can see, there is no way in hell this character's just gonna hold that gun and it's not gonna fall forward. It's a lot of weapon for a skinny little character we got going on here. But yep, that is Stork. Okay, so here we have the Dark Ace. Now, this version of the Dark Ace came with 2 weapons. It was his sword, and then it had like this little, I don't know, ballista kind of looking thing, where he used to use it in the show all the time to just kind of capture the kids by the leg, which is kind of weird, but whatever. But yeah, so here is the figure. Again, similar points of articulation. You can see in the back, right here, 2 in 1. Combo to en uno combo. So this was probably a Hispanic release somewhere. Yeah, and then right here you can see the arms. All these got like little action stuff going on there. Now, here's the one thing you got to keep in mind with this. So the loose figure that I got here. So I got the figure. You can see right there. There's a little action sort of what he's doing. So you can see the legs, man. The legs are just makes me so paranoid. Because the way they were designed, it's just one wrong move away from snapping that bad boy off. So I'm always kind of scared to do that. But you can see the head on this one doesn't really, it turns, but not a lot. The shoulder kind of moves. Right here moves a little bit right there. And then there's the wrist. And now here's the cool part about the sword. So you have the sword without the power, the sword with the power. So that's pretty much how that goes right there. And then you could put the sword in either hand. Right here. Wow, it's kind of hard. And again, maybe because these things gotten a little older. There we go. So you can see there's the figure right there with the sword. Coming right at you. But I'm pretty sure a lot of these figures in the hands of little kids, a lot of these limbs probably snapped off. Because again, look how thin that is around those joints. So, and if this is just like a basic plastic, a lot of these limbs just pop right off on these characters. But that's just my opinion on these. But there is the Dark Ace in his glory. Okay, so next on the lineup, this one's kind of loose. So, as you can see, here are all the 3/4 inch figures. The next one's going to be Snipe, and then the last one is going to be Arrow and Radar. So, I'm going to do Snipe next. And Snipe is pretty standard. He is, I believe he's season 2 bad guy. He does have his 2 mallets that come out. And right here, the good part is about these weapons is that they are a soft plastic. They're not that rigid plastic, so if you move it wrong, it'll snap in half. The problem is, like with this character right here with a mold, I managed to get the weapon in one hand, but I was unable to get it into the second hand right here. He is pretty bulky, but this is pretty true to the design of the character on the show. And you can see right there, that's the head. He's got articulation in the center, not in the mid-body because there's no way because of his design. He cannot bend there. You can see the shoulder. He's got some in his elbow, on his wrist right there. And then, of course, on the knees, but not on the feet. So, yep. So he is pretty pretty set up. Like I said, I was hoping I could get this in his hand, but I don't want to. This is more rigid plastic, and I don't want to accidentally snap his finger off because that would really suck. So, but that's pretty much him in a nutshell. Boop, boop. All right, and last but not least, here is Arrow. And Arrow, he is pretty much a smaller version of the bigger one. So for scale, here is the full 6/4 inch version. The swords do not come off because these light up and they glow. So this is the standard 6 inch, and this is the 3/4 inch right here. And then right here, when you look at him, he does have, just like the other character, he has 2 swords. And again, it's kind of a challenge sometimes to get these in their hands. I've tried to be really careful because I don't want to break them, so I'm just going to leave that alone. So these got the double swords, and just like the other guy, these have the power off, power on. The difference is like these don't glow, they're just little sly-ons. So if you do find them, chances are you might get the swords, but the glow will be missing because these come up way too easily. Like there's no snapping mechanism, so they just kind of come off. But the cool part is, you know, this is the size that fits on the motorcycle. You can see he clearly fits on this version of the motorcycle right here. And there's his little monkey pal right there in the corner. He is still attached to the motorcycle, so I don't want to mess with him. But I do have an additional one of him, so we can take a closer look. We can take a closer look of the character. And this is pretty much what he looks like. So, yep. This little monkey dude right here. So this one he is riding on the bike. So here's one version of him on the bike itself. So he's just able to do that. And then this one right here, I guess this is the separate one that maybe might come with the bigger figure. Let me double check. Give me a second. No, apparently not. I just checked. So here's just an extra figure. I don't know where he fits, but he is an extra one. But that's pretty much what this little character looks like. And here's the cool part about the motorcycle. Pretty much you have this right here. The wheels snap inside, and then when you release it, you know, this comes off. So you can go from flying. So right here, you put it right here to lock the wings. So you can see right there the mechanism. See it right there? So it goes from flying, pop, and the tire pops out, and you see the character. You can change from the motorcycle to the flying version. This is why a lot of these, the wings went missing, because kids will pop them and then they will lose them, and then the motorcycle will become incomplete. So that's the only problem with that. But all in all, this is a pretty cool figure, especially if you're a little kid and you were a little fan of the show. I thought this was a really neat concept. These little motorcycles were really cool. I'm just glad they kind of attach the fire on the back, because it would be a pain just trying to get everything going. But if you're going to try to get the bike, just try to get it intact in the box, because it's really hard to find them with the wings out in the wild. And before we continue, I do want to take a closer look at the vehicle. As you can see, he does come off. He is modular, but I'm trying to keep him attached to him because that's the way it came in the box. The back tire doesn't collapse in, only the front tire does. You can see they put in, you know, some details on here, which is great. Everything else is like a solid body piece, except for this right here with the wings and with the tire. And then obviously the figurine that comes off. But to be honest, it's cool just kind of keep him on, because he looks like a pain in the butt to try to put back on if you don't have a piece of tape on the figure itself. And last but not least, here's the outside of the box full figure of Arrow. Outside of the box, now, he doesn't do much. I mean, he's got some motion stuff, but the main thing that was important about the character was that when you click back here, these little things will light up. But unfortunately, it kind of makes me sad, because I have no problem breaking things apart and putting them together. But the way they assembled this is that once it's snapped in and the battery dies, there is no way to get in there without really damaging the figure. So there's a little button right there you click on, and when you click it, this right here will turn on. But unfortunately, there is no way to carefully go in there and try to replace the battery with something new, so that way this relights back up again. So that kind of makes me sad. But it's a pretty cool figure. The lower half is completely rigid, which was my assumption. The upper half, you can see right here, when I turn him, he's got some action going on there. Yeah, wah, 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 wah. The arms kind of move a little bit, but not a lot. But most of the motion is going to come from the twisting of the body. It's not happening on the arms individually. And then the head moves a little bit on its own. So that way you can pose him however you want. But yeah, he is now slicing his head. But I definitely suggest to, if you like these, get a stand. I said they're pretty true to the design in the show. But just kind of like the regular show figures, the limbs are very, very thin. And some of the other features are very top heavy. So the character is going to plop over uncontrollably no matter how stable it is. So you will need to find a way to stabilize the figure so that way it stands straight. All right. Dope. Okay, so as I mentioned before, most series do not do the female girl characters because they don't sell very well in male toy lines. So Piper was the only character that was not made, and I love Piper. She was great. So what I ended up doing, I believe I grabbed an extra fin, and then I molded her hair. Obviously, her hair was pretty wild. Like, she had this really tall hair, and I sculpted her features. But for pretty much, I just kind of made a really, basic version of her. And this was the end result. Is using acrylic paint. And I even did the little logo on the back. But I thought this was super neat. It was a challenge. I was learning how to do sculpting at the time. I thought it was fascinating. But, it didn't turn out perfect. But I personally like it. And I'm one of the few people that have a Piper figure with her Stormhawks line. So I'm pretty happy with it. So not bad for a custom. Alright guys, but with that, thank you for joining me for another Living with a Toy Collector episode, Stormhawks. Pah! And by the way, before I forget, these were made by Spin Masters. As you guys know, Spin Masters is pretty much, they have a really, really long resume of creating TV show based toys, and these are no exception. And you can see like right here, if I put the light behind it, let's see if I can do it right here. You can see that glow on the swords. It's pretty neat though. I think these were neat, but that's just me. Everybody's got their thing. This is my thing. So, yep. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys joining me. My shenanigans, just putting these videos together. Like I said, I'm just going to continue going through my collection. And like I said, I'm not going to go too deep in the history because there's someone out there that has already done it. But I just pretty much just want to share, and kind of forces me to revisit my collection, especially since I cannot put them out on display because I got fur babies, and fur babies like to nom 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 on figures. But I always appreciate you guys joining me as I just kind of go through my silly collection. So if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. See ya!